chill.
Hello there, gang, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, the Earth's mightiest action figure video podcast. So take off your pants, crack a beer, and let's talk toys. Let's talk about the nerdy news that you need to know about. It's the only news that matters. It's good news. And on today's show, the MCU promises to keep Deadpool dirty, Resident Evil returns to terrify our consoles, and Samoa Joe gets a sweet tooth. But as you know, here at Model Behaviour, action figures always come first.
Or sometimes not at all.
So let's talk about them. Today's top story is that 3-0 are doing a 1/12 scale Bloodshot figure from Valiant Comics. Yes, slow news day. That's not a knock on Bloodshot. It's just that when you've been covering Star Wars and HasLabs and all that kind of stuff, it's like, 3-0 Bloodshot. Okay, let's see what we can mine out of this. I don't even know anything about the character. Vin Diesel played him in a movie, didn't he? That's about the extent of my knowledge. Is he like a zombie type super soldier? He gets killed and then keeps coming back? I don't know. This figure looks okay. 3-0 I mainly know from like their super high-end, more 1/6 scale, big Hot Toys type action figures. So this is maybe not a first. I don't want to say first in case I'm bang wrong, but this is one of the first smaller scales that I've seen them do. They might have had a whole career of doing 1/12 scale figures that I just wasn't aware of, but take that for what it's worth. So this looks, again, okay. It looks very McFarlane-y to me, which honestly I don't really like the look of. Like the torso looks very sort of separate to the abdomen, and his crotch looks, they weren't very generous to him, I'll say that. So I don't know, it doesn't look great. Maybe it'll look better when more pictures come out. I mean, I don't really have a horse in this race, as you know. I ain't a Bloodshot person. But for those few of you out there who are like, I want that 1/12 Bloodshot, where is he? Well, very soon, you're gonna have him. A little more mainstream though now, Hot Toys are doing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness again, but this time, it's the Zombie Strange, and holy bananas. Look at this guy. I thought that the first Doctor Strange figure from that movie was excellent. Then they upped their game with Wanda as well. Oh, she was fantastic. But this is just a masterpiece. Look at how hideous but beautiful it is. Absolutely incredible. Now, I hate to do this, but I don't have either a release date or a price, but it's probably going to be expensive. Look at all those arms. Look at all those bodies, those hands, those demon-type creatures coming out, making that incredible cloak around him. It's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of disgusting, hideous beauty. What else am I going to say about Hot Toys that I haven't said before? Nothing. You know what it is. Gonna look beautiful. The likeness of that zombie face, absolutely great, because they're not even trying to recreate a human face. They're creating this mashed up zombie face, which is just going to look exactly like pulled from the screen. So beautiful, so awesome, so impressive, so out of my price range. But if you can afford it, then very soon you're going to be able to put him, not just add him to your shelf, but you can do a whole bookend thing, can't you? Doctor Strange one side, Wanda the other, and then Zombie Strange with his amazing arm, limb, demon cape in the middle. Man, that's going to look incredible. If you have that set up at home, send me an invite. I'll come over and stay. Now, this is a kind of fun one for me. Super 7 are doing Godzilla. I was so disappointed when I found out that NECA lost the license to Godzilla. I was like, oh man, but they were doing some really good figures and they hadn't got to doing the monsters yet, and that's what I really wanted. Well, Super 7 are stepping up, and they got two to kick it off with. First of all, they've got Godzilla from, I think it was the 1995 Godzilla movie where he fights Destroyer, where he's like all flaming, and he looks cool. He looks like that great mid-90s Godzilla. And then they got Mecha Godzilla, and that's super awesome as well. It looks kind of kitsch and campy, but that's how it looked. Honestly, still think it looks better than the CGI monstrosity in Godzilla vs. King Kong. So, they did something right back then. So both of these guys are slightly bigger than the NECA scale as well, which is no bad thing. I mean, scale doesn't really matter too much with kaiju because it's not like they're going to scale with anything else on your shelf. You're not going to have a 1/12 scale kaiju. It would still be as big as your house. So that's never going to happen. But just the fact that it is bigger and chunkier, that's pretty awesome. Now, they're more expensive as well. So the bigger and chunkierness, that applies to the price. Little quid pro quo there, as you would expect. So these are going to be retailing for about $80, give or take. They're up for pre-order now on Big Bad Toy Store and all the other usual outlets. So go and have a look. I, for one, that's, again, out of my price range budget for the things that I collect. But I'm just going to enjoy seeing these released, enjoy commenting on them, because I love Godzilla as a franchise. So yeah, Super 7, more like this, please. A couple of statues now from Premium Collectibles. You know it's a slow news day. When I start doing statues, you're like, oh man, he ain't got much to talk about as far as action figures go, does he? But I just like showing off statues sometimes because they are super pretty, especially this Magneto one, but especially this Ghost Rider one. Man, with the flames and the whole bike going on there. And I like that it's kind of a reinterpretation of Ghost Rider. Stop me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this is any specific version from the comics, or definitely not from the movies. It seems like the artist went, okay, let's do Ghost Rider, but I'm going to zhuzh him up a bit here, give him some spiky shoulder pads, play around with it a little bit, have some fun, you know? And it shows, because it looks very, very good. And then you've got Magneto, who is just like perfect, like standard Magneto. 90s Jim Lee, X-Men, welcome to die type Magneto, which is, quite frankly, is the best Magneto. Red and purple Mags, he's always going to be my favorite. Why? Because that's what I grew up with, so of course I'll always be biased. But these two statues together, they look pretty awesome. Let me give you some of the details. So these guys are both going to be available January next year, 2023. Magneto is going to be $450 and Ghost Rider is going to be $605. Yes, that's crazy expensive, but I don't even comment on prices because I don't collect statues. It's a rich man's game. Mezco have shown off images of their 5 Points Popeye and Oxheart set, which looks kind of fun. I'm not a Popeye person. I grew up watching Popeye as a kid. Still didn't convince me to eat spinach, but I don't really have much nostalgia for the character. But it seems like folks do, because Mezco are doing quite a few Popeye releases, and they wouldn't be doing them if people didn't buy them. So if you like Popeye, then you can get the 5 Point style one, which is much less sort of high-end than the bells and whistles Mezco ones, but you get a lot here. You got two figures with the big old Oxheart guy, you got the ring and the crowd around there. It's a fun little set. It's nothing that kind of appeals, like I say, because I don't know this story or this episode of Popeye or whatever it's based on, but if that's for you, then you can enjoy it. And quite frankly, I don't have to enjoy everything. If you like something I don't, then more power to you. But one thing I am a fan of course, is pro wrestling, especially the stuff that I grew up with in the 90s. Even if, man, it was the doldrums of pro wrestling in the mid-90s, there were some shining examples of it, and this action figure I'm going to talk about highlights one of them. So this is the Amazon exclusive WWE Fan Takeover Ultimate Edition Shawn Michaels. Man, these names are almost as long as the Hasbro Transformers, but this figure does look really, really nice. This is peak Shawn Michaels in many ways, like the best in-ring performer and probably the worst human being to share a locker room with. But it also makes sense to show this figure off during Pride Month, because Shawn wasn't trying to be a gay icon, but at the same time, he chose to wear that wardrobe. And he played into it, God bless him. And just hearing Vince McMahon on commentary, oh yeah, look at Shawn Michaels, oh, what a ride. It's like, Vince, why don't you just marry him, okay? It's getting a little creepy. But this Shawn Michaels, yeah, I instantly see it. This is WWF champion Shawn Michaels, so sort of 95, 96. And it's actually a really good likeness for Mattel. And that's kind of a caveat. I'm not saying Mattel like always do great likenesses. They're okay, you know? So this Shawn Michaels is okay, but by their standards, it's pretty decent. So yeah, I just wanted to show him off. He's available exclusively on Amazon. He looks pretty good. Now this is an interesting little one. This is a little sneaky peek kind of thing from over in Malaysia. Photos have been surfacing of the new Power Rangers Lightning Collection metallic white Ranger figure. Now, this hasn't been officially announced by Hasbro yet, but just on the other side of the world, we're starting to see this guy pop up in, I think, like toy fairs and conventions and marketing things. So he's on the horizon. So if you Power Rangers fans, this is going to be a big one. Because, I mean, like, look, Tommy as the White Ranger, it's pretty much the coolest Power Ranger. I'll happily go on record as saying that. I watched the Power Rangers at least at the start, and right up from the beginning to the White Ranger saga, all through the Green Ranger stuff, it was Tommy's story. And then when he finally became the White Ranger, badass leader of the Power Rangers, that was pretty wicked. In fact, I got to admit, like, just for a cosmic type collection, random sort of cyber ninja looking guy, that White Ranger figure, he would fit right in with some Cosmic Legions or other type of characters. So I think this is going to be popular not just for Power Rangers fans, but just for fans of cool looking action figures. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for him. Like I said, no official announcements yet, but the figure exists. So when he gets officially announced, you'll hear about it here first. Well, actually, no, you won't hear about it here first. You'll see it on more reputable websites. Then I'll regurgitate the news. And that does it for action figures for today. I told you it was a slow news day, but that's not all I want to talk about. First of all, there's some cool comic news. DC Comics have announced that they will be publishing DC Pride 2022 day and date digitally and in store, and digital ones will be available for free, which is kind of nice. Just giving the most people the most opportunities to read these stories by these creators and characters who they want to spotlight and showcase, and I think that's kind of lovely. So to read this online, you need to sign up to DC Universe, but you don't need to subscribe, so you can still register and get it for free without parting with any money, I think. That's what I'm going to try and do regardless, because I want to check this out. I like the Marvel Voices issues that they do, the DC Pride ones. It's nice to just have that little bit of extra representation, and not just in June, but all throughout the year. June, it's kind of a running joke now that every single company and corporation in the world goes super gay for Pride Month. And it's like, I just want to point out, Model Behaviour has been super gay 365 days a year, okay? We don't slouch. But this looks kind of nice. I'm looking forward to checking it out, and yeah, maybe you should too. Over in movie news, an Arachnophobia remake has been announced, and this... I don't mind spiders. I have no problem with spiders, but a film like that can give anyone the goo-goo jeebies. And if you haven't seen the original Arachnophobia, trust me, it actually ages really well. Because this was done right on the cusp before CGI kind of took over everything. So it's like real spiders and real trickery and real things that just make you want to sort of, pull your socks up and your trousers down and just check under the toilet bowl before you sit down. It's a fun one. It's a real fun roller coaster ride, that movie. So if they can recreate that kind of feel with a modern take on it, I'll be excited to see that. Fun little note, the much maligned Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man is actually the #1 movie on Netflix, apparently. And I think that's nice, because that film, it's not a bad film. It just wasn't really wanted at the time. We didn't want another Spider-Man origin story. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, this does nothing for me. I don't want to see this retold. I don't need a continuation of Tobey Maguire. That would be nice to keep that story going, but I just want it to keep on rolling. Why are we resetting everything? But the film that actually existed was a perfectly fine film. It's a bit sort of The Hunger Games, Maze Runner, Twilight, that kind of 2010s blue tint to everything, angsty teen sort of theme to it. So that wasn't great. And the Spider-Man costume was the ugliest thing that we've ever had on screen for Spidey. But besides all that, there are some nice parts of that movie, and I love that the whole kind of Andrew Garfield franchise was sort of redeemed in the eyes of fans in No Way Home. That's lovely. So a sweet little epilogue to that is it's the most successful movie on Netflix. And a little mini bit of Deadpool 3 news. Deadpool 3 is happening. It's happening under the Disney umbrella, and the writers of Deadpool have gone on record in a recent interview to say that don't worry, even though it's under the Disney banner, Deadpool is going to be the same Deadpool that we've all come to know and love. Basically, will be as rude, crude, and vulgar as we come to expect. Not that that alone makes a good movie, but it does help that that is an element of Deadpool, which is then written well around it. Just want to make that very clear, okay? It's not just a bunch of dick and fart jokes, otherwise you'd be watching Model Behaviour. Nah, I don't go that lowbrow either. So it's nice to hear that at least the plan for Deadpool as it's being made right now is stick to what works. And if they can do that, then I'll be very excited to see what Deadpool 3 looks like. June 23rd on Paramount, we get Bevis and Butthead Do the Universe. Now, this is one that is definitely for my generation. I think anyone under the age of 30 will be like, Beavis and what head? This was something that was so quintessentially 90s. This was pure MTV, and you could not be a school kid in the 90s without being like, shut up, butthead. I am Cornholio, and you teepee for my bunghole. It just doing that, it's so crass, it's so stupid, but it just tickles me. It tickled a whole generation, and now a whole generation is going to get tickled once again on Paramount Plus. So the trailer is out, it looks as stupid as you would expect, but that was the thing, it was always stupid, but kind of clever too. I mean, it's Mike Judge, he's a smart guy who wrote that, did King of the Hill and plenty of other stuff that actually is very cerebral. So behind the idiocy, there's actually some clever writing as well. That's what I'm looking forward to with Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. Bring on June 23rd. We're going to transition now from movies to video games with something right in the middle. Twisted Metal, the car combat game, is getting a live-action movie, which that could be fun. I like the idea of a car combat live-action movie. We've not had that since, like, Death Race. So bringing these larger-than-life characters to life, in a larger-than-life kind of way, not redundant, we're actually getting some fairly well-known names. The main character is Sweet Tooth, the scary-looking clown dude. I'm just going by what I've sort of seen, because I've never actually played Twisted Metal. But AEW wrestler, I paused there because I was like, where does he work? AEW wrestler Samoa Joe will be providing the body of Sweet Tooth, which is interesting. So he's not doing the actual verbal performance. That will be handled by someone who I'm often compared to just like visually when I don't have a beard, Will Arnett. So Will Arnett will be doing the vocal performance of Sweet Tooth, and Samoa Joe will be playing the actual physical character. And that makes sense. Joe is a beast of a human being, so I'm sure that'll be a fun kind of combination to see. And then the rest of it is all just going to come together throughout the days, weeks, and months, and I look forward to reporting more on it. It's the summer of games, and we have had a few interesting trailers pop up. First of all, the full trailer for Street Fighter 6. This kind of got me excited. I'm a casual Street Fighter fan. I never got into it enough to fully understand and embrace like all the really complex parts of the game. So X-isms and super moves and A-isms and V-triggers and cancels and all those kinds of things. That's a little bit too much. I can do a mean dragon punch and a Shoryuken, and occasionally I can do a Tatsumaki, or whatever you call the tornado kick. I'm decent at Street Fighter, and every time a new game comes out, I do get a little bit pumped and hyped for it. So this one, it looks like they've really kind of rejigged things a little bit. First of all, the graphical style. I was garbling my words a bit there. See, I was getting too excited about Street Fighter. The graphical style looks slightly more realistic. It looks more Virtual Fighter. Actually, if I didn't recognize the characters, I would have thought this is a new Virtua Fighter game. So they're going for that, not photoreal, but certainly a more grounded sort of look to the characters, which I like. It's refreshing. But then it looks like we've got a whole kind of open world RPG element to the game as well. So you can just do the normal arcade fighting, or there is a single player mode, which looks like there's going to be a real kind of complex story to it. It looks like it's set in Metro City. So you got like all the Mad Gear gang and all that kind of thing. It's going to be a fun experience, I think. So this is one I'm going to pay very close attention to. And also we got a trailer for Resident Evil 4. The remake, and this is something that's kind of intriguing because Resident Evil have a really good history with their remakes. My goodness, the Resident Evil 2 remake, mwah! Resident Evil Nemesis remake, it was okay. It was more of the same. But Resident Evil 4, that is the one that really kind of got everyone back on the hype train for Resident Evil way back in the mid-2000s. And it has been ported and converted to just about everything. You can play Resident Evil on a fridge these days. And so it's been done. So I think they're really going to try and not just remake and up-res the graphics, but completely overhaul the game, bring whole new things into it, which is absolutely fine, because if you want to play the original, it's out there in every form imaginable. But now they're going to take it and just reimagine this world, and Resident Evil 4 was wacky. It was silly. I mean, like, yeah, it was a survival horror game, but it wasn't. It was a fun, silly action game. So I'm hoping they're going to take this down a much darker path and do a creepier, meaner Resident Evil 4. If they do that, then yeah, that's going to have me like buying it on day one. I'm going to be very excited for that. And over in Japan, they have announced the Sega Mega Drive Mini 2. There was one released a couple of years ago. I think it had like 48 games on it, give or take. This one has got 50 games, including some Sega CD games. So that's kind of fun, actually. I think they got Sonic CD on there, and that's one that has some serious 90s nostalgia for me. So I would be quite interested in this. At the moment, it's only got a Japanese release date, and it's retailing for about 80,000 yen, give or take, which is about $80. You know, there's going to be a bit of a difference, but that's what you're looking at. But no US or Western release dates given yet, but I'm sure we will be seeing it maybe around Christmas time, because, yeah, this generation, again, 35 to 45, we've got our nostalgia dollars to spend, and Sega will be quite happy to rinse them. Over in wrestling news, yes, it will get its own channel soon. I'm getting there. CM Punk, the AEW champion, has had to relinquish the AEW title, kind of. So really, just, I feel for the poor guy. He wins it on Saturday, and then less than a week later, he's injured. He said he has an injury on his, he didn't specify. He referred to his wheels, so I'm guessing foot, knee, ankle, whatever it is, he needs surgery. And he's like, I can't defend this belt. I want to let other people have a shot. So it was a bit confusing with the mixed messages. It seemed like he was relinquishing the title, but now it would appear that actually, no, he is still champion, but they are going to crown an interim AEW champion. So it's going to be interesting to see who steps into that void that will then clash with CM Punk when he returns. And I guess they must hopefully be optimistic that he won't be gone for more than a couple of months, I guess. Otherwise, like, why are you doing an interim champion? Just do a new champion. I'm not a fan of interim titles, because like, when the person who's the interim champ, then if they lose it, like, were they ever really champion? They were interim champ. It doesn't really count, you know? So I don't like that. It muddies up the title lineage. But just want to say, it's so sad to see that happen to Punk. Obviously, that means his match with Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door is going to be off. But then the question is Tanahashi going to be one half of a championship match? Or is that going to be changed? Will he just have a different opponent entirely? I don't know. That's the great thing about pro wrestling. Even when it's bad news, it's still interesting. I'm fascinated to see what they do with this. And finally, Morbius 2 is confirmed by Jared Leto on Twitter. Not really, but he did put out a quite amusing video where, I don't know what the inspiration for this was, but he's sat there on a couch and this lady comes over and he's reading and she's like, hey, what are you reading? He's like, nothing. And then she looks at the front cover and it's the script for Morbius 2, Morbin Time. And it's clearly just Jared Leto poking fun at the internet backlash over Morbius, and that's a smart thing to do. If you can't win, then you might as well be a part of the joke. That's what I do. That's what anyone should do. If people are making fun of you, it's no good to be like, oh, you don't understand my art. It's much better to be like, yeah, I'm with you guys. That movie wasn't good. So yeah, that was just a fun little random aside. Morbius 2, Morbin Time, coming to a cinema near you, never. And folks, that does it for Good News for today. A very random episode where I was just plucking little stories out of the blue that just appealed to me. So what did you think about the subjects covered? Comment below. Let me know. And if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then you know what to do. You got to join the 6-1 Clicks by clicking the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And if you want to go one step beyond supporting this here channel, well, you can do. First of all, you can go over to patreon.com if you want to. Throw a couple of bucks my way. That helps keep the lights on and keep me in action figures. That's very much appreciated. Or if you don't want to change websites, you're right here on YouTube. You can just be a channel member. Click on the old membership icon, and then you can get all those videos as well. Plus, when we're doing the live streams and the chats and all that kind of thing, I can see that you're a channel member and be like, boom, my man. Double thumbs up, can of Coke to you. Or if you don't want to do any of that, then just by watching this video, one more click is very much appreciated for this channel. It all helps out the algorithm, and I'm very grateful. So guys, thanks very much for watching, and until next time, keep displaying model behavior. Mezco have shown off images of their I couldn't get 5 fingers up there. 5-point pop. Let's try that again, shall we? What do you think? Let's try that again.